I don't like what happened with the Flyers last night, and they didn't even play. Just horrible, okay? They're going to miss the playoffs because of that frickin' 8-game losing streak, but we pretty much knew that for the last week anyway. All right, Phil's crazy ending. Crazy. I mean, look, it's one of those games defined by good pitching. The game is defined by good pitching, but for a good stretch, there wasn't a ton of action. Good job by Bress with the RBI single. Great job by Aaron Nola, who obviously was the star of the evening for the Phils. And now, despite that...
And great job by Pache, man.
Well, I'm getting there. I'm building it up here, John.
My gosh. Just conscienceless, gets up there, swings. I think it was the first pitch, wasn't it? I don't remember the first pitch. Pache, hey, no big deal.
Well,
hey, I've been in for a while. Just let me at him.
Gets in there in the 8th for Schwarber and ultimately the winning hit. Before that, though, let's get to the crazy defensive play. Jeff Hoffman is the pitcher. This was, let me put it this way. When the ball was at its apex, there was essentially a 0% chance. Seltzer, there was a 0% chance they'd get this dude out. Somehow, bang! Let's listen to how it went down.
That one gets away from JT. He picks it out of the air, flips to home, and out at home plate. What a play by Hoffman. Freeland came charging down the line, and Hoffman smothered him at the plate.
So Aaron Nola, the star, but that moment, the moment of the game, because, if you didn't see it, it's just a crazy sequence where the ball goes about as high as you feel like it could go on a ricochet off JT. And, as that ball's in the air, it's like, well, there's no way they're going to get the dude out at home plate. But JT to Hoffman, a collision at home plate, which I still can't even believe that was legal. You get all these you can't block the plate rules. And then Hoffman's whole body's blocking the plate, but...
Goal line stand.
Seriously. That was like the 91 Eagles
What about the guy who's sliding
Phoenix.
in there? Dude, you
That's
can't just
right.
slide into the side of his knee like that.
I'm
That's
just
pretty messed up, too.
I was
two pitchers, no less.
Two pitchers.
How weird is that?
I was just shocked it was legal, honestly. And more than that, I was shocked that they actually were able to apply the tag in time.
It was massively violent. I've never seen, and as long as we've been doing this show, that's the most violent play we've seen in baseball.
Because you're not allowed to have a play at the plate anymore.
Bang,
it was.
and super hard bang.
Yeah.
Hoffman, I'm telling you, man, I think if he wouldn't have been able to make that play, he might have been hurting a lot worse. The way that he got taken out by that guy.
I know.
That's brutal.
Look, so we want to hear from you on last night's Phils. Obviously, they now climb back above 500, which is good to see. 215-592-9494. Without some kind of winning moment, though they wouldn't have won the game. That was a salvage moment at that point. But then, obviously, the bottom of the 10th, as John had alluded to, Christian Pache with the winning hit.
The pitch swung on, punch to right, a base hit, ball game. Christian Pache wins it. Single to right, they come racing out of the dugout to celebrate with Pache and celebrate a 2-1 win.
All right, so you get Tom McCarthy in the TV version of the first call there, and obviously Fransky in the WIP version here in the second call. We'll take your reaction to the Phils. Let's hope that the Phils don't climb back to 500 at any point, slink back to 500 at any point this season. Let's hope it's all moving forward now from here, 9-8, above 500, and hopefully they can keep it that way the rest of the way. We shall see. Phil's back at it later tonight. Your chance to weigh in on what happened with the Phils last night. Again, really tremendous credit to Nola, who had a disastrous first start, and incredibly now in just a couple starts thereafter has already gotten his ERA below 4. Which is a borderline miracle considering how high his ERA was after that first start. It's a
7 runs.
I know.
I
know.
He really was affected by the weather. There was an entire outing where it was pouring down rain. The footing was bad. When you look at the numbers, his max velocity for his fastballs, this I guess it was 2 games ago. It was the slowest his velocity
the game in St. Louis
since 2016.
Yeah. It was 89 and a half or something like that.
He was worried about his footwork, getting his feet set more than anything. He wasn't focused on the velocity, and it did look bad. The numbers looked bad.
Well, they were horrible. Yeah.
He's clearly in a good spot now.
Yeah.
The way that he had bite on all of those breaking pitches,
dealing.
It was like old school Aaron Nola. The mage Aaron Nola who can throw a ball and make it disappear in midair. That's what he was yesterday, and it was great to see that again.
Great job by him. And despite all the nutso-ness of the start of this Philly season, the reality is Wheeler and Nola at the top are what you expect. And that more than anything.
And Ranger
gives them, and Ranger's done
Holy
a
cow,
terrific
Ranger
job.
last outing was that's what they told us we were going to see. Ranger with full spring training, and we're seeing it.
All right, so look, Phil's obviously on the table after a win last night, 215-592-9494. Love your thoughts on what we saw from the Phils last night. Let's get to the draft. So Devontae signed yesterday. We'll get to that in short order, but the draft. It's funny. We're 9 days away from this one now, and it feels like there's been not a ton of buzz for it, and I get it. A lot of talk of offensive linemen and a lot of talk of a lot of random college football players you probably never heard of until a couple of weeks ago. The reality is this. The talk that there has been, in my opinion, has focused way, way, way the heck too much on let's go get an offensive lineman. And as an Eagles fan who had seen what we saw with the team last year, I'm frustrated by the narrative out there and the belief that the Eagles are most inclined to draft an offensive lineman with this draft. Frankly, I don't get it. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying there's not some need on the offensive line. I mean, if they don't believe in Tyler Steen, then yeah, you got an issue right now with the starter. Hopefully they do believe in Tyler Steen. Maybe he can be their starting guard. I mean, he was the third-round pick from Bama last year. I get the reality of losing Kelsey. I get that is like a no small matter.
Lane is the very near future.
That's the one that bugs me.
He will be slowing down. He will be working his way out. Like, just imagine this being sort of getting close to the time that they were talking to Jason Kelsey. Hey, would you consider looking at some guys and helping us pick out a guy to follow you? I do think, though, talk to Lane about this process. Gauge him, how he feels about this process. They will treat him differently than most guys get treated, but time will still advance, John, and he will still age out of this league.
See, here's where I view it in a really simplistic way. If the Eagles want advice on what to do, talk to an Eagles fan. And ask an Eagles fan, what was the biggest problem last year? And almost every person will tell you the frickin' defense stunk. Now, that's not to let Jalen off the hook, who by the end stunk himself at the very end. He didn't stink for the season. At the very end, he struggled big time, and we'll see where that goes. My issue is their issue was defense. And I am so sick and tired of hearing all this conversation about another offensive lineman. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. What I'm telling you is you could draft a player at any position on the defense, any position, and it could be a justified pick. Now, obviously, there are a couple of positions where it's more justified than other. Outside corner, slot corner, safety, because I don't believe in Blankenship. Defensive tackle, I lost Fletcher Cox and don't believe in Jordan Davis. Linebacker, no, we know they won't do it, but let's not act like it wouldn't be unjustifiable. Defensive end, edge rusher, outside linebacker guy. I mean, call it what you will. Look, they traded Reddick. They signed Huff. Hopefully it's a wash. I tend to think it won't be. I tend to think Huff's worse. We'll find out. Obviously, Nolan Smith is in there from a year ago. He's going to get a shot. We'll see what he's got. I mean, I look at 5 different spots on D. Interior line, edge rusher, linebacker, actually 6. Outside corner, slot corner, safety. I'll take any of them. And on and on and on, I hear people talking about drafting an offensive lineman.
Joe, look at our offensive line. You got Jordan Mailata at left tackle, Lane Johnson at right tackle, and then behind them, you got a guy named Fred Johnson and LaRaven Clark. It's not guys that we are familiar with.
But I don't need a
longer.
first-round pick for that, John.
This offensive line is thinner than we've ever seen it with how we run in the show. He keeps it restocked and resupplied
then draft a third
all
rounder.
times.
Then draft a third rounder.
Right now, we are thin. We are thin, and I'm sure he feels uncomfortable with that. This is not our personality. Offensive line is what you need to focus on. It's our bag. It's our process, and keeping that offense strong is what's going to help the defense next year. Our offense is so far ahead personnel-wise that why not lean into what you're good at right now and allow it to give your defense a little bit of the boost it needs.
Right, so
control the clock, do that sort of thing.
That argument, John, you said, and again, I'm curious where everyone stands at 215-592-9494. I mean, who you like within this draft, what positions you think the Eagles should obviously actively target, the whole deal. The whole draft thing at 215-592-9494. John, that line you said about Hal, and it's a good line, and we've heard it for years, and I'm not saying it's not true, that an improved defense, a good defense can help your offense. I grant that.
Improved offense can help your defense.
I'm sorry, I said it right. Yeah, an improved offense can help the defense. I totally get it. You're right. How about this line? An improved defense can help the whole freaking team. I mean, how about the fact when they played Tampa Bay, I really think the Eagles had the worst defense in the NFL. The whole league. I'm talking the teams that went 4-13. I mean, by the end of the year, the defense was a joke. The problem was they had to keep playing games until they actually were, walked off that plank.
And those guys didn't know what they were doing.
Correct.
You had guys out there who weren't sure where they were supposed to be.
And Bradbury still started?
Where their teammate was supposed to be. Yeah, Bradbury's going to start until someone else proves they can do it better than he can. And I think right now you got new coordinators on both sides of the ball with different expectations. The defensive side of the ball, they're going to say, hey, let's try to simplify this to make sure the guys are doing the right thing. We haven't seen these guys do the right thing. Let's just, let them run around with confidence. And on the offensive side, it's going to be, hey, we got to start building leads. Let's get ahead of teams so we can sort of dictate the game script.
Well, look, I'm curious where you stand at 215-592-9494. If you think there has been too much talk about offensive linemen, and I get it, guys. I mean, it's been a tremendous area of strength for the Eagles, and you want to keep it as such.
It's who we are, Joe.
It is who they are, but I object to the concept that Lane Johnson is like right at the end or near the end. I just object to that. I do not agree with the concept that you need to bolster behind Lane Johnson more than just pick a defensive player that can just freaking play. All right, 215-592-9494. Where you stand on all that? The Phils win last night. Jimmy Butler coming to town, the whole deal. Joe DeCamera, John Ritchie. It's 94 WIP.